Ever been out in nature and realized that you wouldn't last one day if things went south? Whether it's a camping trip, a power outage, or the unexpected. The truth is, most people don't know how to survive without modern conveniences. But by the end of this video, you'll know 10 essential survival skills or techniques that could literally save your life. But the best part is, you can learn these skills in just 15 minutes. Well, and now we're gonna get into these skills in 3, 2, 1, go. Forget lighters, shave fine feather curls into a dry stick. This is called the feather fire stick method. The secret, use your knife at a steep angle and slice, not carve. It catches flame even from a weak spark. Feathers equal fire in seconds. By the way, I want to say this is a Walmart hatchet I got right here, and you pull it out, you know, it's got your regular blade, pretty sturdy. This part is like a plastic or like a carbon fiber type material, so that I'm not too fond of. I prefer to have a full metal one just because things happen, things break. It's got the mallet on the one side, you know, for screws. This right here, you can guess what this is for. That's this piece right here. So on the sheath, you have a ferro rod, so I can spark it right there to start fire. And then on top of that, it's also a whistle. So I got a whistle right there. So if you ever see these come around, I'm pretty sure this is Ozark brand, and it was probably like 15 bucks, something like that at Walmart. Always keep an eye out for those Walmart buys. They have some stellar survival stuff that's cheap. It's not maybe the highest end stuff. However, I've used this axe for many years. This goes in my survival backpack. I've used it for starting fires and all kinds of stuff. So getting a lot of good use out of this hatchet. It's one of the most, if not the most important survival tool and skill. Fires are used for keeping predators away, signaling for humans in an emergency, cooking, boiling, and sanitizing water, sealing your shelter. Believe it or not, you can burn the edges of lumber and it makes it essentially pressure treated, like pressure treated wood from Home Depot. You can also use fire for making tools, smithing, etc. So you need skills that make fires easily. Master the feather fire stick trick ASAP, and it might save you and your family's life. In these little strips right here. So the thinner they are, the better. Might not be as pretty as the pictures you see out there, but we're getting all these little strips out of here. This is really good kindling. And so what I'm doing is I've got a nice birch blanket right here. I'm just putting all of this on there so that I have some really good fire starter. And everything in survival has like a recyclable nature. So let's say I'm carving a spear out of this stick for self-defense, or I'm carving a spear so I can stake this into the ground. You know, maybe I need to hang something to dry out, or, you know, hang something to cook. While I'm shaving that spear down, I'm also simultaneously making fire starter. So I'm killing two birds with one stone. Starting to get a little bit of a spearhead there. All right, so you see all that? Starting to collect it in here. Got some nice tinder. All this right here. Back up. All right, here we got a beautiful birch tree, and a lot of trees like this have bark that can peel off, kind of like paper, and this is extremely flammable. So I'll use this in my fireplace at the house, but it also makes a good tinder box. So I can essentially put stuff in here like moss. Some good moss on that tree right there. So I'll put some moss up in here. I can roll this up and boom, I got a nice little tinder box. So you'll see me use this in the video, hitting the ferro rod in here, igniting this, and then boom, this will start to light up real nice. So anytime you see bark like this on the trail, grab some, put it in your pocket. You never know when you'll need to use this. And grab some moss like this, some lichen, something dry that you can use. You never know when you're gonna need it to light a fire. Always pack a little bit of this. This makes a huge difference. Hit it with the ferro rod, boom, this stuff's gonna ignite. Drop it in here, pack this full of your wood shavings, and you'll be good to go. And remember, starting a fire is the hardest part. Once the fire's going, it's really easy to keep it going, but starting a fire, that is the key. You need things like this, and like this birch bark, cedar bark, other types of bark you can peel off that's super dry, highly flammable. Go get some, put it in your pocket, carry it with you on the trail. Tree bark tinderbox. Birch bark, cedar bark, it's more than tinder, it's a tinderbox. Curl it into a cup, pack it with moss, keep it dry in your pack. One spark and this stuff roars to life, even when wet. Yep, so grab it on your trail, pack it as you go. You can add a little bit of lichen for extra fire starter. Then when you land at camp, your fire is ready to go with minimal effort. Remember, starting the fire is the hardest part. After that, all you need to do is stack logs and keep it stoked. So master the fire start and you'll always have fire, even in bad weather. Got my handy dandy axe and ferro rod. This thing's awesome, man. Alright, once I build that fire a little bit more, we're gonna drop this rock in there and get it extra hot. So I'm gonna get it prepped. Get this fire rolling a little bit more. The rock boil hack. A hollowed out wood bowl or bar container. It'll boil water in minutes. That's sterilization, ancient style. You can also take a flat rock and cook food on it like a griddle. Another thing you can do is heat rocks and put them near your sleeping bag in winter to keep you warm. Okay, now stay out of the frame. Go over here. Alright, so we're gonna get that rock heating up. We're gonna let it sit there for a little bit, and then I'm gonna grab a pot with some water and see if we can boil some water with it. Alright, got myself a thing of boiling water. We still got a little ways to go on that rock, but pretty soon we're gonna drop that in here and see what happens. Alright, so I'm actually gonna repurpose these two, the little spits or spicks or whatever you call them, with the Y's to pick that rock out and then put it in the pot. And it's getting smaller. Pretty soon we're gonna pull that out. Alright, so you got unboiling water right here. Alright, we're gonna drop that in there. Ooh, that's definitely boiling. Woo. Ow. Gotta watch out, I'm getting hit by the boiling water. Alright, well, it definitely works. Alright, there you have it. First time doing that. So you can burn a rock and stick it in the fireplace and stick it in your water, and boom, you got boiling water. So it's a tried and true method. The forks picking up the rock didn't work so well, but hey, we gave it a shot. The boiling worked, so new technique. Fat wood find. Find a downed pine tree, look near the base of the broken branches. That orange resin-soaked wood, it's fat wood, nature's gasoline. Scrape, spark, flame, and yes, it smells like heaven. Collect fat wood and store it in your pack while you're traveling so you have fire starter no matter where you decide to camp. You don't know if your camping spot will have good fire starter, so if you find fat wood, bring it with you. One bonus fire tool are horse hoof mushrooms. You can carry an ember in the notch of a horse hoof mushroom and it'll last a long time. So you can essentially carry your fire to your next camp. All right, so I got a pine tree right here, and we're looking for this kind of like resined up. Pine trees are gonna produce resin, and resin is extremely flammable. Now, if you can find pine trees, the lower branches are starting to decay a little bit. They might be really resin full, like I can see some resin right here, and that's gonna be called fat wood. So fat wood, I'll show you some other videos. We're looking for almost like if you had a finished wood, you know, you just finished a deck, that glimmery type of look to it. That's what fat wood is going to look like. It comes off of a pine tree, it's going to be resin filled, and if you cut it with a saw, you're going to see there's just like resin all coated up in it. And if you find a good piece of fat wood, this branch right here was kind of falling off this pine tree and it was low on the tree, so typically your fat wood's going to be low on the tree. It can also be on trees that recently fell over. You don't want a super decayed tree, but a recently fell over tree might have some fat wood in it, and fat wood is going to be extremely flammable. So, or if you can find pockets of resin, you know, that's flammable as well. You can light some resin, it's going to catch on fire. So I can already see there's some lines of resin right here. So this is all coated in resin. Smells amazing, flammable. So especially in this season where it's fire season, I can take a ferro rod, and it'll probably catch on fire at least where the resin's at. Fat wood, I'll show some more pictures, some more video of what fat wood looks like. But we're looking for pine trees, so locate your pine trees and then look for resin, and sometimes look for trees that are already fallen over, maybe recently fallen over, that are pine trees, and you're looking for that finished coat look. You know, it looks like they just sanded and stained the branch, and it's going to be easier to tell when you saw through it, because when you saw through it, you're going to see those layers of resin running through there. That's fat wood, highly flammable. So it's kind of like that. I just ripped this off. If I cut through this, there's some amber looking color. You can smell the resin though, and you can see the resin all over this. So that kind of pinkish red color is what you're looking for. All right, so I got a recently fallen over pine right here. So you'll notice all dark. I pulled this out, but look at the color of this right here. See that kind of red color? So if we pop this back, if this has the right smell to it, you'll know if it's that fat wood. So look how red that is. You'll be able to smell it. It smells amazing. It smells like the most fresh pine possible. When you touch it, it'll be sticky. Another thing too is, let's say this whole tree is decaying, but there's a part of it that's not decaying. When I pull that apart, you might notice there's that red color, and that is the fat wood right there. That fat wood that's highly flammable is waterproof. So it's exactly like when you stain a floor or stain a deck. That is gonna be the resin. But ultimately, you're gonna need to cut into this. If the wood looks like amber, you know, like a fossilized piece of wood, that is gonna be highly flammable. That is what fat wood is. I'll put up some pictures here in a second. You got to kind of dig through wood. You got to cut it up to see, but ultimately it's going to look like amber, exactly like amber. Think of it like a recently stained deck or floor. That's what it's going to look like, highly flammable, and the tree won't be decaying. So this right here, I saw this resin and then boom, I turned it over. It's got that nice orange color. Not true fat wood. It's going to be a lot more amber looking. This definitely has some resin in it, so we're getting closer. Y right here, and then got another Y right here. Just gonna cut this off and then shave this down to a spear so we can poke it in the ground. The 2-stick cooking split. Don't just throw food in a fire. Sharpen 2 Y branches, stake them beside the flame, rest a green stick between them, instant spit roast. It rotates, it cooks evenly, you eat like a king. Put up a You can also hang a pot over this using that V-notch we talked about earlier.
Probably won't get this perfect. Where's Indy? That's one. The next one. All right, so a little bit high. Probably want to cut this in half so you can actually cook something, but I could smoke some stuff over here, so I could drape some meat on there and smoke it. I could also hang something so it cooks right around there, but you get the idea. You know, you got two Ys. You got a Y there, boom. Cook over a fire. It's fire season. Make sure you put out your fires. All right, put a stick in here. We got the shadow going this way. You can see over there. We're gonna see where this goes. And just to give you a point of reference, you'll see that little plant right there. Stick there, shadow going that way. So we'll check this in 15 minutes and see where it's pointing. All right, so unfortunately, trees making it pretty complicated to see the shadow, but the light is now shining this way, so the shadow's coming a little bit more that way.
Sunstick navigation. No compass? Stick a branch upright and mark the shadow tip every 15 minutes. Draw a line between 2 points. That's west to east. Primitive? Yes. Dead accurate? Also yes. If you even have the slightest idea of where you are located, then you can generally navigate wherever you need or want to go. Even if you don't know where you are, you can pick one direction, north, south, east, or west, and stick to that direction until you hit civilization.
So a couple quick notes on your sun stick right here. You want to make sure when you put this down, there's no trees that are going to impede the sunlight. So you want a nice open spot. I can watch the sun, so really you don't even need a stick. You know, you yourself can be the sun stick. However, this just gives you a point of reference. Essentially, the sun right now is over this way. When it started this morning, it was back this way. And then by the end of the day, it'll be over here. So it's essentially coming from this side over this corner to this side. So I already know in the morning, the shadow is going to be coming this way, right? Midday, the shadow will be coming this way. And then end of the day, the shadow will be going that way. So this helps. You can use yourself, you can use a tree, you can use another point of reference. There will be other things that can catch a shadow. And so you don't necessarily need a stick. This is just one way where if you're freaking out, you don't know which direction is which, and you're trying to find your way home and you're lost, put a stick in the ground.
The 7-notch
down,
is
take
good
a
for
deep
hanging
breath,
something from.
Take a rest for 45 minutes. And then after each 15-minute increment, you're going to have an idea of which way the sun is traveling, and so you'll be able to get your bearings straight. A compass helps too.
The goal is to avoid going in circles. Travel in a straight geographical line, and if you don't hit civilization, maybe you hit ocean, a death cliff or other, then pick another geographical direction and go that way until you hit civilization or a dead end. Most people jam sticks into the ground. You notch them. Carve a simple 7-notch and wedge it into your shelter. It locks beams in place, no cordage needed. Ancient engineering, baby. A 7-notch is essentially half a V-notch, but with more angle in it. And a V-notch is exactly what it sounds like, a V. Both are designed to use gravity to funnel the weight of whatever is sitting in the notch. So a V-notch you can make a log cabin with just by stacking logs on top of each other, then having gravity hold the weight. If you don't do this, you'll need paracord to hold the logs together so they don't slip. This not only wastes material, but you also have to have the material as well. You could hang your clothes up, you could hang a knife up, you could hang your firearm up. Whatever you want to do, you can hang up on a 7-notch. However, you can also use a V-notch for the same purpose. So, different notch, different application. Notches seem simple, and they are. Simple, but useful.
Okay. Okay.
Bird alarm system. Silence is deadly in the woods because it means a predator is near. Learn to listen to bird alarm calls. Crows, jays, or sudden silence? That's nature yelling, something's coming! Squirrels are also a great alarm system. Typically, squirrels will alert each other if there is a threat. Although this is not foolproof, listen to the sounds of the wild and they will tell you what's going on. Other animal sounds to listen to include deer snorts. You'll hear them make this sound, especially when they're threatened. They'll go, shh. Elk mew calls and bugling, coyote chuckling, wolves howling, cougars screaming, owls hooting, etc. There are lots of animals in nature and all of them communicate certain things for a certain reason. So if you study these animals, you'll learn the communications of the wild and they may alert you of dangers or potential food sources or other valuable information. All of these sounds can teach you something. There are professional elk callers and calling competitions because these elk callers literally speak Elkanese. So you can use these calls to also draw in elk or deer or moose or other animals so that you can provide meat for your family. So learn the language of the woods and you will survive any scenario. Pine needle sutures. Split skin or ripped gear. Thread pine needles through the fine twine or natural fabric. Instant bush suture kit. It's not pretty, but it holds. And in a survival situation, that's what matters. Believe it or not, pine was used as a needle for sewing and stitching by our ancestors. Most of us probably don't have the stomach to stitch a wound with pine, but let's stitch an article of clothing. What pine needle sutures are and how they work? Pine needles act like natural needles, stiff, thin, and tapered. You split and strip them to form a sharp point. Use either your own thread, twine, or natural fiber to stitch torn skin or fabric. Each stitch mimics a basic suture. Insert, pull tight, tie, or tuck ends. This technique is similar to coiling and stitching process used in pine needle basketry. In basket weaving, a thread is sewn between layers of coiled needles to bind them tightly. Pine needles are plant-based and naturally antiseptic when clean. In an emergency with no proper sutures, they provide rigid pointed tools. Best reserved for severe gear tears and last resort wound repair. It's a time-tested survival trick across indigenous and bushcraft traditions. Now, caution and context, this is not a substitute for medical grade sutures and should only be used when absolutely necessary and there are no other options. I'm only talking about an apocalyptic type situation. So if the US government does not exist anymore, worldwide governments don't exist, maybe there's a one world order and you're trying to survive for your life, that's the only time you would use this situation. And also cleanliness is essential. Sterilize materials with fire or boiling water if possible and always seek proper medical care when available. One more extra tip, know the different types of pine and fern needles that are out there. We have something called Jeffrey pine that's got red bark out here in Idaho. Those pine needles are probably the longest and thickest. So in a situation like this, that's probably what I'm going to use, especially for the clothing scenario. The other pine needles that we have here are a little small, and not as sturdy as I would like. So the Jeffrey pine is going to be my go-to choice for sutures and needles. Big Sky, Montana. I got a bunch of sagebrush up in here. We got sagebrush right here. This grows all over North America, probably all over the world. You're gonna find it in high plains type terrain. I'm in Big Sky, Montana right here. So you grab this stuff right here, you break off a little piece. I got a nice little bundle. I can wrap it up, and just like with sage, I can light it, and the smoke is gonna repel insects, and it's also a disinfectant, so you can clean your hands if they're dirty. If you just field dress an animal, you can light it and use it as a disinfectant. And then of course, it smells really good, so it'll calm your nerves. Smells great. None of these skills take more than 15 minutes to learn, but in a survival situation, you could have food, water, shelter, navigation, communication, and more. Now, if you got something out of this video, do me a favor, like and subscribe,
shoot a comment below so that you never miss any of this survival content that could save your life and a loved one's life as well. Comment down below what was your favorite survival skill in this video. In the link in the description below, there will be a free survival skills and gear link for you to download so that you can print it out and take it with you in your survival pack. There's a free survival gear and skill checklist in the description below, so make sure to download that, print it out, put it in your survival pack. Now remember, survival is all about preparation, so prepare now while you have the chance. Don't wait till it's too late. Sweat in the gym so you don't bleed on the battlefield. I'll see you in the next video. God bless. Make sure to post that survival skill and checklist link below on your fridge. Remember, the wild waits for nobody, so prepare now while you have the chance.